There you go. All right, guys, I'm in a little bit of a pickle. So Lori and Sandy are taking over the class at 10:30. So Lori, set your dinger.
Yeah.
I need to leave at 10:29 or I'm in big trouble. So I think that's what's really cool about real estate is you never know where they're gonna be. Right? Isn't it amazing? Like you think you got your day planned and then it's completely opposite. Like you got the buyer all lined up, right? We're showing houses at 11, 11:15, 11:30, 11:45, noon, bang, bang, bang. 10:50, oh, I'm running a half hour late. Well, why? Oh, because we decided to stop and get some Starbucks. Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like, or what?
The breakfast ran long, or they just
It's
decided.
I'm on vacation, I don't want to get up.
Yeah, but that's the cool thing about real estate, right? We are puppets, and yes, we do get bounced around, and it's crazy. Just like this morning, I'm training, right? At 6:30 in the morning, there's these 100-pound donuts, these big round donuts that are kind of like tires. And I knew I was really warmed up, I already did 20 minutes on stair climber, right? I'm good. I did 8 of those, and then went to this ball that we throw over your shoulders and wrenched my back.
Oh.
So now I'm like, yeah, so right, but that's the cool thing about life, about real estate. We're always being thrown, right? We're always being thrown into stuff. And you have to embrace that because it's the way it is. It's a combination of life, professional life, and what we have all going on in different sectors. At 10:30, Lori's going to talk about a Zillow review. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to call a client that we've closed. Right, Lori? Did you do that? Did you not know that?
Yeah, I did.
Did you? Oh, you did.
Yeah,
Did
I've
Greg
got
call you
something else
this
I want
morning?
to talk about too.
Oh,
That's very interesting.
oh, good. I like that. All right, then let's first ask any reason why you're here today. So you guys know I'm always going to answer it because it's not about me. It's a little bit about lead generation and moving your business. But why are you here today?
Inspiration is
That's
always
exactly
my
what I was
first.
going to say. Yeah.
Inspiration, motivation.
Yes.
Okay, so what I would say to you is try to wake up every morning with an agenda. So I think it's very important that when you go to bed at night that you write a to-do list and you attack that list first thing in the morning. And I'm talking about 8:01, all right? Act like you have to be at a job and you're punching a clock. And if you're not, sanctions, right? 50 push-ups. I got to run a mile. Something has to be a penalty. Yeah.
There's a great book called Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod.
Miracle Morning.
Really helps you structure your morning. It's about getting up early. It's about, I just bought his new one, Miracle Morning Equation.
Okay.
Don't get the Miracle Morning for real estate. That's like a story. The original Miracle Morning, if you really need to set your mornings, it's awesome.
Okay. So here. So where's our sign-in sheet?
It's up there at the front.
Okay. Everybody that's here today is going to get that book.
Hal Elrod.
Wow, cool.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
12.
Yeah. Keith, will you read it?
I'll read it.
It's super
He
short.
hesitated. You guys see that hesitation? So will you do it for less than 6%?
What's yeah?
Oh. Will you do it for less than 6%?
Can't.
Good. Will you do it for less than 6%?
I think you meant read the book.
No, it's no, and let me tell you why, right? It's no, and let me tell you why. So Keith, you hesitated, so you're not getting the book. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Did I count myself?
Yeah.
11 books. Order those. Can you order them for me? Send me the bill. 11. And then the next 5 people that text me from this video will also receive the book. All right. So 5. I gotta do the math again. 17. Order 17. The next 5 people that you won't. The next 5 people that text me. That's my new thing. The next 5 people that text me will also get the book. So here's what's funny about. I always tease people now. So Otley will come to me and say, "Hey, I'm gonna do an open house this Sunday," and my response is, "You won't." Right? Because I challenge people, right? So that's my new thing. So,
Right.
hey, you should read this book, right? And then I say, have you read it, right?
Yes.
Or hey, I'm gonna get it, and I'll say, you won't. Right, because most people won't.
Right.
We talk a big game, right? But Lori, that's the key. What takes you from thought to action? Right? If you figure that out,
That's why I'm here. Could you figure that out for me?
yeah, you get so
I think a lot of
there's
it
gotta
is
be pain.
routine. It has to be
Yeah.
routine, like just don't give yourself time to think about it, just go, just
Right.
do.
Or I'll tell you the other thing, and this is the other thing is you're not hurting enough.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The
That's
pain's
true
not
story.
strong.
And I'll tell you, how do you keep that fire lit? It's because you're not hurting enough.
Hungry.
And I'll tell you, man, hit rock bottom, and then all of a sudden you'll feel it. So how do you wake up? How do you wake up every morning when you're not at rock bottom, thinking you're at rock bottom?
Let's ask some of the professional athletes. Larry Fitzgerald doesn't need a thing in his life and he's still burning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's up every day.
He's up
Yeah.
every day.
He
Yeah,
interviews.
it's the same thing. When I threw my back out this morning, the trainer kept telling me to quit. No way am I going to quit. So I still, you know, I couldn't sprint, but I ran, and I'm going to pay for it.
Okay,
But
sometimes you need to be smart.
yeah, but tonight I've already canceled my pickleball game at 5 o'clock, and instead of that, I'm going in the pool, and I'm going to the chiropractor, and I'm stretching at 5. Right? So
I got some good
I get-
meds for you.
you got what?
Some good meds for you.
But I'll tell you guys, the game's only over when you quit. That's what you need to understand. It's
Greg said something one time that's always stuck in my head. It said, we are unemployed until the next year.
yes.
We
And-
always consider that, we are unemployed until the next year.
You guys will hear me say all the time, like if Nicole just closed a deal or she just did a listing or Scott did or somebody in this room, I always look and say, who's the next victim? Who's the next victim? Because unless you have multiple victims, right, you're not, I mean, who's your next victim? Right? I mean, you gotta go that hard. Yeah.
My deal that I have trouble getting through is that analysis paralysis. Man, I think shit to death, and I can't figure out if it's not making sense to me, I don't move forward, and I don't know how to break through that. That is
Follow
so
down.
hard.
Wait, what doesn't make sense to you?
I don't know, like if I'm gonna go out and door knock, man, I gotta know what I'm gonna say. I gotta have a handout. I gotta know who I'm going to door knock. Like I gotta do all this stuff.
But see that, what, you can't, you don't know the outcome because you gotta keep reading. Right? Like, you must be the person that goes to the back page of the book and finds out the ending.
And then decide if it's worth reading.
All right, now Scott, how many door knocks did we hit the other day?
8.
8. We had a really good conversation with one lady, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. The first door. She invited us in. We were there for 20 minutes to talk to the lady. I don't think there's not a deal there, right?
No.
And then, do we leave voicemails, Scott?
Yes,
And do people call back?
they did.
They did.
In our text.
People answer text, people call back, and I show it time and time and time again. You just got to stand up and give them the energy that they deserve. Right? You got to act like $15, $20, $30, $60,000 is on the line, because it is. Right? If you were an actor and you walked into a film producer, right, and you were bidding for a $3 million job, you better bring it. Because the next guy or you're waiting tables. Right? We're in the same industry. Yes.
How often do you follow back?
Always.
No, but meaning like the time frame. Like you
If they hit me,
No.
I'm okay.
you have a
So
number from open house, you hit like the day after or the couple of days after. If you don't have any response,
the program might not like. So keep in mind, I don't do open houses anymore. Okay. So this is kind of crazy. So I have a guy that I'm meeting. One of the reasons why I can't stay here till 11 is because I'm hand showing a house, and he texts me like Tuesday night and said, "Hey, I want you to sit the open house on Sunday." I send him a text back and says, "I don't sit open houses anymore."
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, well, I'm not doing it, right? So, and I've told everybody in this room, if you see me sitting in an open house, go hang your license somewhere else. Because that means shit is bad here. Right? I'm not doing it. All right? So I've done enough of them. I can coach them, I can preach them. So to your question, I like right when you finish the open house, send them a thank you note for visiting and say you'll have a list tonight of comparable houses, 50,000 more and 50,000 less and 50,000 more. And then what are you doing tomorrow? I'd like to show you a couple.
Okay.
That's how I would approach it.
And if they don't respond, how many days to the next call or text?
If they respond back, you got them. If you get them in your car one time, you got them. So you have to press on until they say, yeah, show me 10 houses or whatever it is, right? Or you get them in your car. That's your next thing.
Will you call once a week, twice a week?
I would call them until they say quit calling.
Right.
So no, once a week, I can tell you if an open house once a week is not enough.
No, I say 4 contacts in the first 24 hours. A text, a video, an email, a search, like, do it all in the first 24 hours. You gotta hit them hard. If they went to 6 other open houses, you have to put yourself above everybody
Agreed.
else.
Agreed. So Otley, who has made money in the last 60 days off an open house? Raise your hand. Okay, I thought you were going to be the only one.
No, Scott did.
Scott, did you raise your hand?
You mean actually got the money now? Because I have 4 in escrow right now.
From open houses.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty
So
good.
Otley.
Awesome.
Remember I said the answers are always in this room?
Bond stuff.
Otley. What did I say, Otley? Or not?
Oh, he's not.
The answers are in this room, right? Okay.
2.
1 minute, tell them what you did to anchor those 4 buyers.
I immediately followed up. In fact, one of them I didn't have, all he would give me was his address and told me that.
Mailing address,
Yeah.
okay?
Well,
Or email
that
address.
was that's one where I got the listing. I
Okay.
actually got the listing. And he said, we're thinking about selling our house, and he gave me the address. He wouldn't give me his phone number, his email, or anything.
Okay.
So I went over there, I put a card on his door. I
You went over.
mailed- I mailed, I did comps, I left him on his gate. I kept doing that until he finally called me and said, let's have an interview.
Okay, so how many times did you hand deliver something
I
before he
did at
acknowledged?
least 5 times.
5 times.
Mhm.
So 5 times before he acknowledged you. Okay, Otley.
So all of my deals that I've done recently have been out of open houses, and just in my conversations, I was able to get to their houses from my conversations to talk to them about listing their property. And so the one I'm out showing today, I'm showing $1 million properties today to a guy that I've had a home visit on a listing, and that was the follow-up. It was like, well, we would need to sell our house, and so immediately for me, that's like, well, let me get a look at it. Let me see what we're working with, and I'll give you some feedback on how we can sell it. And when do we set the appointment? When can I come over? And so that's how I try to always get to their house, because if they have something to sell. If they're just buyers, I do the same thing. I put them on a drip. I send out thank you cards, that sort of thing. But if I know they have to sell, I really push for just getting my eyes on their house. Same as getting them in the car.
Okay, let's talk about a drip real quick. So here's a good drip. Here's a blank seller's property disclosure statement that a seller will give you in the next 5 days, right? That's a drip, send it to them. Here is the buyer's advisory. This is good reading prior to even looking at any open houses, so you know defects that you possibly are looking at, right? Here's a blank contract, right? Lending, after we find a house, lending plays 90% of the role, meaning a lender. Do you have a mortgage broker, right? Mortgage broker. Number 5, I got you on a portal where you're gonna get homes automatically with the profile that I have set. Here's the settings, right? But here's another dashboard that you can log in to my MLS and do a search the same way I do it. Most of my buyers, though, get frustrated with this dashboard, but here it is. The advantage of this is, let's say you want to go right outside your zip code. Let's say you want to go up another 100,000, but you don't want me to know that yet. Whatever you want to do, here's a dashboard where you can do a search, and this is a pure search. It's faster than Zillow and any other website, because Zillow, Trulia, all the other information websites get information from who? From us. So this is pure. It's as pure as you can get, right? So explain that to them. Most people think Zillow is the MLS, guys. It's not. It's us that provides that. If a house comes up that meets your buyer's need at 1 o'clock today, right? They're not gonna see it till the next day. But if they did a portal search every day at 1 o'clock, they're gonna see it before anybody else. I say portal, am I using the right word? It's probably not. A
Yeah,
login.
and as long as you put the settings that as soon, immediately.
ASAP.
Because some people, you can do, just a batch, morning, night, but if you put immediately, so as soon as.
Oh, so they get pinged immediately? So there is a portal that you can put the immediate button on.
Anytime
But then they're getting
something
pinged all day.
Well,
Only stuff that.
only
applies
stuff
to
that
them.
matches their criteria.
Yeah, but if you have a generic criteria of 500 to 1 million and 85331, ping, right, okay. An immediate ping, I didn't know that setting was there, thank you. All right, Scott, tell us your story.
Oh, I have a buyer and a seller off of an open house, and it just kind of, he just stood there and talked for a while, and then once they give up their phone number and their email, you realize that they're actually somewhat real. And I just sent him some information, and then he said, "Oh, I'd be interested in having a look at our house, and we want to downsize." And he had all this telling signs that led to believe that he was an actual client that was going to do something. And then as soon as I gave him comp back on his house, he's like, "Let's list it. I want to move." Right? And they just like
Nice.
that, right? Yeah, it's nice.
It is nice.
Yeah.
So,
So they're a real client. He's actually going to sell, and he's going to buy.
do you have the
Also
paperwork?
just
It's all
close-
done. It's listed. It's up.
You just closed one.
Why
Did you just close one from an open house?
No, that wasn't an open house. That was a referral.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that was a referral.
No, 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 no,
No, the one
What
I
she's
was
asking me
thinking of
about.
that we just closed with him, but it wasn't an open house
Right.
one.
Is that a plug-in for Stuart there?
No, I was just.
Oh, but I will say this about that, that I did.
You'll
have-
say this about that?
I will. I had Stewart Title's buyer and seller books in my open house.
Yeah.
And only serious people, like I gave him those books. I'm like, if you're really gonna buy, you're really gonna sell, take these. Because it has a contract, it has all the things to do if you're gonna list your house, all this information, and I gave him those, and when I took them out, they had the buyer book with them.
Okay.
Right? So, and then they have their seller book at home.
Right.
And I said, read through this because it's a sample contract, things to do to get your house ready, what's gonna happen, how it's gonna go, where to get the lender, what the process is, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Right.
So the drip system needs to be engaging and directional. So send them real information of paperwork that they're gonna see eventually. Like Sandy Carpin, he's gonna take over the class. All right, so I'm gonna make, Lori, you had something to share.
No, I was just telling you 3 minutes.
Okay. Are you sure? Your time's off. I got 10:22.
I got 10:22.
But you said 10:25, you gotta fly.
I said 10:29.
Oh.
Who heard 10:25, 10:29?
10:29.
29.
Throw you under the bus.
Okay, it's all right. Listen. All right, so I'm gonna make one review call, and then Lori, do you know Patty Sandler? Okay, so I'm gonna call Patty
Okay.
because I don't believe we've got a Zillow review from her. Are you ready to send that?
I will be.
Okay, so I'm gonna call Patty. She's a talker, and I'm gonna ask for a Zillow review because guys, it is important that you get Zillow reviews. I can't stress how important the reviews are. Now, there's 4 types of reviews: Yelp, Google, Zillow, and there's one more.
Realtor.com.
Google, did you say Google?
I'd say Google. There is one more.
Yahoo.
No.
All right.
If you don't have a Google My Business page set up, call me, set up an appointment.
Can you mark my name down and see if I have one?
You do.
You can
Okay.
request.
Can you send me a text on 0 to 10 on how you would rate it, and then tell me how I can improve it. So guys, use these individuals. I don't try to figure everything out. In fact, my name is Del. My wife calls me Delegator. So, because, there are people around your life that are just waiting to help you. And Julie is one of them. Julie is one of them. Hang on, I'm gonna call Patty, because I promised to make this call. And she's gonna get all excited about all kinds of things, so she's gonna be asking me other stuff. But I'm telling her, in her inbox, she's gonna get a Zillow review from me, and then I want you to send it, what we send them to everybody in this room.
Okay.
Keith, make sure Lori gets the list. Hey Patty, how are you? Good. Hey, I just wanted to give you the heads up that I'm sending you, I'm hoping you can just take about 20 minutes today or tonight and give me a review on my services. I'm gonna send you a Zillow review.
Okay.
It has to be at least 150 characters. And if you could use my name personally, Dell, and then let, Gabe was a great, a role player, and Darren, about how we talked about price, positioning, and hand showing, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, but I can't do it at school today. I'll have to do it later.
Okay. All right, I would really appreciate that. It's very, absolutely. I appreciate you just taking out the time. All right, well, I know you will. I appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, stay out of trouble.
I'm trying.
Okay,
It doesn't work that well for me. Okay, bye.
bye. It's that easy. It's that easy. So send Patty Sandler Zillow review,
Yeah.
and then send everybody in this room the attachment that we use.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to do this, sit down and do it until you got it down. How many Zillow reviews do you have?
5.
5. Good. Good. How many Zillow reviews? Nora, you don't have any yet. That's
I
okay.
don't,
No.
but I'm gonna do it.
Scott.
Sure.
0.
Scott.
I know, it's 0.
I thought we only named dogs Zero.
I know.
Isn't there a dog named Zero in some movie?
Yeah.
Notice he wore a long sleeve shirt today because he wanted to make sure I didn't talk about his triceps. All right. Lena and I'm going to make one more call. It's around a house that we have in Silverleaf, and we're circle prospecting. We just reduced it to 5.9 million, and the guy will do a trade. He'll do anything that makes sense. He'll take a commercial building. Lena is going to be looking for 5 people that want to sit an open house every weekend on a 5-week rotation. And when this has never been offered, whoever is in this rotation, at the end, when we actually sell it, we're going to give each one of you $1,000. But the house has to sell, meaning there has to be commission involved, right? So Lena's going to be picking everybody's brain. Lena, which one do you want me to call?
The
Robert?
one
Kim?
on Flathorn.
Which one?
Dell.
Yeah.
Because I
Have
called
you
it.
ever, when you do trades, I used to do a group with Frank Kazami, he used to do a bunch of trades. Have you reached out to him on that house yet? For a
We're
trade?
acquaintances, not.
Okay. He just does a lot of stuff
He
with
does
that.
a lot of
It's
trades,
been like
interesting
years,
He does
very
creative
interesting for.
finance.
Okay, Lena, did you hear that?
Yes, I will call Frank. Okay.
When are you gonna call?
I'll call him today.
Anything you
Right
want.
after this meeting?
Right after
And then
this
call me and tell me how it went.
Okay, and then I have a couple other people I gotta think of from that meeting that maybe I can give you guys too, that we're doing the trades.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so I'm gonna make a live call. Lena, this says something investments in Danville. This is the one?
Well, that's the next one. That's the next on the list.
I would say that, I think it's a good one to call, but I'm gonna have to
Call
fight the
Brian.
receptions. I know that name.
I know, I do too.
He used to be with our company, isn't he married to ex Jennifer?
Who is it?
We're doing a deal with them right now.
You're writing them off.
Isn't he licensed?
No, he says that he's right.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna call Marla Wahlberg.
His wife is,
Yeah, I know.
yeah, and we're doing a deal with them right now in that house.
Sometimes it's better not to say anything. Okay, so this name, her name is Marla. She has no idea I'm making this call. Lena, it's lot 1455, right?
1488. He said 40.
Four-year-old.
Okay, I'm getting her voicemail, but it's legit.
Well, she's not.
Hey Marla, Dell Rounds with Remax Fine Properties. Hey, I'm the guy that has the house listed in Silver Lot 1455. We just reduced it to 5.977, so 5,977,000. And the guy's willing to do a trade, and I was looking at your home on Flathorn. Anyway, the house we have is about 13,000 square feet. It's got southern views of the valley. It's vacant on lockbox. This weekend, we will be doing an open house on, Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday
from 1 to 4. You're personally invited. One of my representatives will be there. My name is Dell Rounds, and you can reach me at 602-809-7653. And the great thing is he will do a trade for commercial property, land, development, extremely flexible. It's a great house. It's kind of got 4 wings. I would enjoy showing it to you. It's 13,000 square feet. Okay, Marla, hope you're having a great Thursday. Bye. I always leave a message. You're gonna make the call, leave a message. I gotta go. Lena's gonna make one more call. Yes. Okay, so Marla,
Broker has no
now,
clue how to
Lena.
do trades, so we're gonna call Frank Kazami and get a trade opportunity in mind.
Okay, Mark.
I have a different
Wait,
way.
hang on, I know, it's okay, I want you to, but you're gonna make a live call. Text Marla now.
Yeah.
So remember we email and text. When I text the guy on Mark Lane, or you text him, he responded back, didn't he? So voicemail, text, email, door knock. Voicemail, text, email, door knock. Say it.
Voicemail, text, email,
door knock.
Voice, text, email, door knock.
Voicemail, text, email,
Voice, text, email, or not.
Until you've done all 4 of those, and then voice, text, email, door knock neighbor. Voice, text, email, door knock neighbor. Facebook, text, email, door knock neighbor.
Video.
Facebook, video. You guys can go on forever.
Stalk them.
Yes. I heard she does the 6:30 a.m. yoga class.
I'm hung up on Mark Lane. Was that Mark Lane off of Desert Willow?
It was.
Yeah.
I've hit that guy.
Yeah, guess what? Tell him the bad news.
He listed with another agent yesterday.
Yeah, and he made it was a quarterback change, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, so somebody made $15,000 on your guys' watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had him on the hook and I quit calling him.
He's a nice guy.
Should we shun him?
If it doesn't
Forty
stop,
lashes.
Game of Thrones, shame.
My little voice is going, why haven't you called that guy back yet?
Who's watching Game of Thrones?
Man.
Fucking weak.
What? It's only 2 episodes.
Into the killing. All right, so hey, you guys want to know my business strategy? I'm a White Walker.
what?
A White Walker.
It's on the Game of Thrones.
How hard is it to kill a White Walker?
Well, if I have
Fire. You need
Dragon
fire or you
glass,
need
that's
Dragon glass.
Right.
Right. So you
Not
chop
that
my head off, chop my arms off,
you're like a Monty Python guy at night.
I'll come at you with barrels loaded, right? I'm a White Walker.
We're not coming to
Lena, make her
Oh, yeah.
I gotta go. Text him. Text Marla now. Tell him what you're texting, and then you and Sam got
I got another guy for you.
Next Thursday, we're
The books are ordered, they'll be here Saturday.
Nice.
So,
So everybody, come pick up your book next week, Thursday.
Okay.
yeah.
Don't worry about it. We'll tell them later.
Okay,
No, no.
Lena.
I am not making the call in front of all of you. I'm just gonna tell you guys right now. It's hard enough for me to make calls and
Do you want to go into my office and make it and come back and tell us?
Lots of calls.
Call.
But I approach, I'm already getting red. I approach it a little bit differently. I just tell people that I have a lot 1488, one of their neighbors' homes listed, and I know that because people really enjoy living in Silverleaf, you might know of somebody else that's interested in moving in to be your neighbor. That's how I approach it when I make the call. And then
We're not judging.
I know. I understand that, but it's
It's hard to
nice.
do in front of other people.
Yeah, I have to get warmed up.
Right. We're not all dumb.
Right,
No.
exactly.
Thank
He's very good at the
goodness.
calls.
Thank you.
I think
Although
we're
if
open
you
on the
guys want to see
outline.
someone that's not Dell, do it.
Lori.
All right, so, guess it's my turn.
Yeah, good luck following up with that, huh?
So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got one up front. Who's up front?
Over. He
No, there
was
he is. You need to show up on Wednesdays at Camp Advantage.
What's that?
You need to show up on a regular basis on Wednesdays at 9:30 for Camp Advantage. Because those people tell you that show up, it's a great class. It's just your chance to tell me about your problems. My approach is very different from Dell. This is about what you want to talk about each week, about what's going on in your world. Scott, is it good?
Yeah, it's great.
Frankie,
Yes, very
fair
good.
enough?
If you
Nicole?
think you don't have a problem, you will.
And I'll tell you that. And just for the record, Frankie, just by talking about her issues, ended up selling a house that she couldn't find a house for a client, correct? Nicole sold the house She brought it up to the group, we all gave her ideas and suggestions, and the deal closed.
Wow.
I'm telling you, just come,
If
if
you
you talk
get-
about your
you get to meet
problem,
with the
not about
broker
solving.
one-on-one.
Yeah, it just is.
A
It
whole
just
hour,
is.
you get to be with the broker one-on-one.
It's just, it's really good stuff. It's really good stuff. So having said that, I'll approach it the same way. What's on your mind, what's going on in your world that I can answer questions?
I go there just to see how many kids you gotta run.
I would go to Camp Advantage, but I don't ever have broker issues.
Yeah, you do. Everybody's got broker issues. That means if you don't have broker issues, that means you're not doing enough business.
Oh!
That's because he didn't call the guy on my claim back.
Right.
Oh!
See? If you're not having enough problems, you're not doing enough
Stay out of my
business.
head.
I truly believe that. If you're not getting yourself into trouble a little bit, getting yourself into sticky situations, bidder issues, appraisal issues, if you're not getting yourself involved in those issues, you're just not doing enough business. And that's not a bad thing. It's not, listen, guys came yesterday, I'm an agent like you guys, I'm involved in some nasty stuff. I'm not immune to it. I'm involved in some
What's
really
going on
ugly,
with that
some
ex-wife?
nasty stuff. So, well, we ended up canceling yesterday. So it's. you
But
know.
tell them your attitude toward it. That's what makes a big difference.
Every one of us is different, and I get it, and I don't know your situation and your situation, I don't know your personal life, I don't know your financial position, I just can just talk about me. Because I was wrapped up in this deal, I was really wrapped up in this deal, I've been doing this for 9 months with these people, and I like these people, and it's being difficult, the whole bit, right? And then the worst part is when it falls out, you gotta start all over again, I'm gonna deal with the same difficult issues. Anyway, I woke up last week sometime and I said, you know, I'm running, you all know I run, and I'm running, I said, you know, the deal just has to go away, because this is not making anybody, this is just not making anybody well. And my attitude was this: if this deal falls apart, my question I asked myself, will I still be eating dinner next Thursday night? And will I still be going to movies next Saturday night? And will I still be doing my next marathon in June? And when the answer was yes, and I realized the world is not gonna change, and my life will not change if this deal closes or doesn't close, it, like this cloud of dust, this monkey was off my back. And it canceled, and we'll start over again, and I'm perfectly just fine with it. And it's not about me, right? It's not about me,
right.
but you know, when you guys call me as a broker, I'm not involved in your deal. That doesn't mean I don't want to help you get the deal done, go through it with you, but I'm not emotionally charged, I'm not financially involved, I have no time invested, I have no emotions involved. So when you're asking me a question, I can be really objective, because whether the deal happens or not, it's not changing my world. And I needed to take that advice as an agent, because as an agent, I'm in it, just like we are, right? Just like you guys are. I was in it, and I was emotionally attached, and I had time attached, and there was a lot of money on the line, because it was a buy, and it was a sell, and so I get it, right? Once I just said, nothing in my world will change. Nothing will change. I'm still gonna have dinner next week, and I'm still gonna go to Connecticut next Thursday. I mean, the whole bit. Nothing changed. This monkey's off my back, and I'm perfectly fine with it. And then I realized it's not me that has to be perfectly fine. It's the people that are involved. They have to live with it. So I was able to give them a better advice from more of a neutral position. It's just the way to go. The pressure's off, and you're not making bad decisions. So that's how it ended for whoever asked. So, okay, who's got a problem? Tell me. Come on, you gotta have a problem. Someone's got an issue.
was in class.
Lena. Lena,
Oh, I'll tell you something
Yeah,
that's
there you go.
interesting. So I was showing homes yesterday. This home has solar panels, and my clients are interested in the home. The agent won't answer his phone. Finally, he texts me back and says he doesn't know if they're owned or leased. And he's the listing agent.
Oh my God.
He doesn't know. And the seller is in New Zealand. So, and my buyers wanna buy the house. So, there was an issue.
So here's the first
Just make
question.
sure you know if they're
All
owned.
right, that's okay. Go ahead. What are you saying?
Well, I'll wait until you're done with this solar issue, but then I want to talk to you about an issue that will help us in the field.
Okay, so here's the first question I would think your buyer needs to be asked. Okay, since you have direct contact with him, do you want the solar panels, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, he wants it. So then you have to wait for the seller to say, are they leased or they owned?
Doesn't he have?
Well, I found out they're owned.
Okay,
But it took a long time, I mean,
That's
2
good.
days.
because if
to
they're leased,
figure it out.
yeah, because if your buyer doesn't want them, then the seller has to make a choice, if he can remove them or
How
how
did you
that
find
can
out? He finally texted me back. He
Yeah.
finally got, but I mean, that's
How
a big
can you
issue.
not
People
ask
will
that
not.
question?
I know.
that
If
you're-
you need to know that, it
listing.
should be in the listing.
Yeah.
Well, what does the contract say
That's
about
fine.
leased items?
the buyer takes over.
No.
No, what does the contract say about leased items?
On page 2, there's the only thing about leased
What's it
items.
say?
Well, basically, it doesn't stay with the property, but the
Right.
buyer, but the seller has to tell the buyer about the leased items in the property.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the right to accept her.
They have the right to
So,
accept it out.
Will so what if they want to remove?
Well, that's a whole nother
Oh,
set of
God,
issues.
that one-
That's a
that-
whole other contract issues. I'm finding from my perspective that whether a house has solar or not, it's not an issue. No buyer that I know of has ever said, I need to be in Scottsdale in Saguaro High School, 500,000 or less, 4 bedrooms, single level with a pool, and it must have solar.
Yeah.
Nobody says that. From a real estate perspective, solar has zero meaning. If anything, solar is a big pain in the butt
Pain in
for
the
us,
butt.
because we have to deal with this. It owns it at least. Can they qualify for lease? Do they want the lease?
Right.
My personal opinion, in 7 years, it's gonna be obsolete, there's gonna be a new greater technology on it, and they're paying for a lease that may or may not be, half the companies are going out of business. So I think solar is a lot more problems down the road, because we don't know enough about it, and we don't have a lot of history with it. Imagine that, leasing a car for 20 years, but the car doesn't work after 10 years, you're still paying on the lease for 10 years, but you don't have the car anymore.
Right.
So, anyway, we got all of that.
So, last Thursday, we were talking about Open Door and Redfin and, all these discount people that we're dealing with on these listings. And so I called an agent, and we got into this conversation because I had a client interested in her property, and we're having a conversation, and somehow we get on this topic. And, we've talked about some of the sales things to how to, unsell that, and where you talk about what they give you in value and those types of things. But one of the things that we really didn't hit on, that me and this lady talked about, that I thought was really interesting, is that she tried to purchase, it was either a Redfin or an Open Door listing, and I don't know, so I'm not naming names, but she was trying to do this, and the level of customer service on the listing side, which is what made me think of it, was so poor. They couldn't get an agent on the phone, they couldn't get questions answered, they couldn't,
Just through Open Door or one of those.
yeah, they just couldn't get the transaction going. So they had to pull out from that house, go find another property for their client. So as we're selling against these types of, hey, yeah, I get it, you wanna go with a discount, percent and a half, we'll list for a flat fee type people,
You're never gonna hear from them.
you gotta figure that there's a certain level of customer service and responsiveness that's required to get you top dollar for your house that these people aren't delivering. And I didn't really see that side of the equation until I was talking to this other agent. It was like pulling teeth to get the deal done, and we couldn't, so we just moved on. We went to another house.
So I'll bring up 2 points. When you're talking to a buyer or seller and we're competing against other brokerages, you just have to be careful of the words that we use, right? Because it's against the code of ethics to talk about disparaging and how bad another brokerage is or your
Right.
competitor. You just have to be careful. You can talk about competitors in general, you can talk about what you do, what they may not be able to do, but just be careful of the words that you use. Because all you have to do is say the wrong thing to the wrong person once, and there's no defending it. Everybody will agree with what you're saying. You just have to be careful of the words and the way we sell ourselves is not how bad they are, it's how good we do versus what some of our competitors may not be doing.
So I shouldn't say stuff like these bottom of the barrel agents that can't make it on their own.
Exactly.
Yeah, I should
So,
get that.
and here's my example, so I told you about this deal I had, that was difficult. I had another deal going that was very difficult also, same thing, we were selling to purchase, and it was a new home, and it got really, really ugly towards the end. And on this one, it was the good side is that we made it happen, right? This is one of my best friends, one of my running partners for the last 15 years. So yesterday we closed on the new home, we closed on his departing home last week, and he said something to me that I did not know. He says, when we originally listed our house, we have a friend that just got into the business, and we thought about listing it with him because he was just getting started, and we wanted to kind of give him a jump start to his business, and you've been successful all these years, and he kind of needed it more than you did. But now that I see what you did and how you managed to get us through and navigate through this difficult situation, 2 things he said. Number 1, there's no way this other guy could have come close to what you did to get this deal done. And number 2, now I fully understand how realtors make their money. He said, Zane, I run with you every day, 5 days a week for 15 years. And it sounds like to me, you just do some paperwork, you show a house, you do some paperwork, you do this and do that, make a few phone calls, and you get a nice paycheck. I never realized behind the scenes what you guys do. And that could have been the nicest compliment ever.
That
He's a
needs
guy
to
I
go
know
in the
from-
Zillow review for sure.
Really was a really cool
That's
thing, right?
so
Exactly,
nice.
thank you for that, yeah. So they got to see behind the scenes, because that's what we do. Anybody can do it if it's easy, you know.
Right.
What example we used yesterday, you know, if somebody went through a divorce, if you're going through, I've been through, but if you go through a divorce and it's amicable and everybody's agreeable, it's pretty simple stuff. But the minute one person or one party says, I'm not agreeing, or I'm gonna go after you, it's ugly, and you need professional help, right? I mean, for some of you have been through that, it's unfortunate, and but you need help.
Yeah, I just had that happen yesterday, Sandy, same thing.
Just got divorced yesterday?
No, gotta get married first. Again, no. I think I mentioned this to you a while back, but we had an issue with an appraisal that was way undervalued. And the lender challenged it. And so once they challenged it, they found out that the original appraiser didn't do his job correctly. So they kicked that one out, and they said, we'll get a new one. Now, the tough part of this is that the seller is also the owner of the condo that we're buying, and she took out hard money to do the rehab. So every day that we're adding on to this is creating a problem. My buyer was already kind of frustrated, had a bad taste in his mouth about the appraisal process. So I said, look, we're gonna do another one. They promised they would get this done by Friday. This was a Wednesday. So come Friday, nothing happened. I called the agent, I called the lender, I said, what's going on? Oh, well, they said they're gonna do it over the weekend because they promised that we'd have it done because we're supposed to close on Wednesday. Okay, I called them on Saturday, no answer. Called them on Sunday twice, no answer. Called them on Monday and said, I'm gonna stay on the line until somebody answers this phone with a receptionist. I need to get this answered. Long pause, she finally comes on and says, I knew I was in trouble when she said, she says apparently the lender did not communicate to the appraisal company, the person that was supposed to tell them went on vacation and never told anybody. So now we're, into more time. So I called them back, called my seller, or called my buyer, and explained the whole situation. I said, I'm gonna stay on top of this. I'll call them 3 or 4 times a day until we get an answer. Well, it finally came in yesterday at value, which was great. Called my buyer, and she said the same thing. She said, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you going to bat for us, because we were ready to walk away from this whole thing. And I said, just, that's what we do. And she says, and now I see what you guys do.
Bill Gray has a great line, I've adopted this, he said this for many years, he says, anytime we get into really a corner or just a bad situation, just remember there's always one more move.
Mhm.
There's
Yeah.
just always one more move. Even if that move is cancellation, there's a move after that. There's always one more move. There just is. Our job is to figure it out with our experience, and if we don't have that experience, we've got 220 agents that we haven't dealt with any kind of situation before.
Right.
You
Well,
know?
I will be asking her for a Zillow review.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
good job, well done.
And by the way, I have 25.
25
Wow.
reviews?
Yeah.
Good.
What else got an issue?
I just realized on the tax record, like the square foot of the home change. How it's possible?
So the tax record that says the square footage is not the same
like
as.
a month ago it was like 2,200 square foot,
Right.
and today it's like 2,000. Because they exclude like casita.
Okay,
So
wasn't permanent?
because when you look as an agent with your buyer, you will look on the tax record, so you don't make the same price, if it's a 2,000 or 2,300 square foot.
right. Was there an add-on to the house at some point?
No, it was there. I think it's from the.
So typically, just remember, when we check tax records, the way the tax records gets inputted originally, when the house first goes for sale, was first built, is by just somebody manually putting it in. So sometimes it could be a mistake, right? Sometimes that happens.
Who changed it?
I bought this house, the
assessor.
builder said it was 3,000 square feet, and for some reason the tax record is showing, 2,000 square feet. That's just a mistake sometimes, right?
I mean, it was the tax record by itself changed. It's not me.
Yeah, the county
Like I
assessor.
have the tax record from like February, it
Right.
was 2,200, and I have today it's like 2,000.
So
It's
from
less?
Yeah,
It's
so from
nuts.
time to time, they send people out into the community doing measurements, but what I learned last year is they also do aerial assessments
Yeah.
of size. And they will adjust the size in the tax records based on an aerial estimation.
I never heard that.
Oh, yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
What I do know is this, there are people, when the tax evaluations come out every year, there are people that fight their taxes.
Mhm.
So they'll go down, they'll get a market analysis from a realtor or whatever, and they'll fight. And it's funny because when they wanna sell a house, they're gonna show you documentation how big the house is and how much it is. But when it comes to taxes, my house isn't worth anything. So sometimes what they do is they say, you're showing tax records, my house is 3,000 square feet, and it's not. I got a builder plan that says it's 2,700 square feet. So sometimes, I've never seen it lower.
Yeah.
That's the reason why.
Or call the assessor's office and ask them.
Yeah.
I had
If
a
you watch when they go sell their house, you imagine how big it
But if
goes.
you look at the blueprint,
I had
you
a
have
seller's
like 1,000 for the living around, and you have the casita of 260.
I had a
So
seller's
I would
agent who
call-
disputed the square footage because they didn't include the stairs.
Yeah. What?
The stairs?
Yeah.
Were they outside?
Yeah.
Right.
So I have a question on that tax issue, because I get asked a lot how taxes are calculated, and it's like, well, I'm buying this house now, they originally bought it for 300, I'm gonna go buy it for 600, is my tax gonna jump up because of it? And I typically answer, it should still incrementally go up how it's been going up, but I don't know how that really works.
Well, your answer should be to have them call the treasurer's office, American
Right.
County
Yeah.
Treasurer's Office. That's really the answer. They can go on the website, because we don't really know. I can tell you what we say to people. What we say to people is, no one really knows, because it's a very complicated
It is very
conversation.
common. We should have, the person from the assessor's
Yeah,
office
it's very,
come to one of the
they
meetings.
do something called full cash value, assessed value.
Right.
I can
Yeah.
tell you this, I
But
think
they
it's a
take
fair
a whole
assumption to
area,
say,
Cash
anywhere between 3/4 to 1% of a purchase price will probably be your annual taxes.
Probably.
I think that's a fair way to put it,
Yeah.
Say that
give or
again.
take.
Say that
About
again.
3/4% to maybe 1% of the purchase price typically will be your annual taxes. But you know what, it's a great question, I don't think anybody knows how to do it. And if you ever call the county's office, and they try to explain it to you, go Google it and see. what
It's
you get.
very complicated, but we had them come once to
Yeah.
Scottsdale Luxury Home
Yeah.
Tour, and they had this whole drawing
Yeah.
about houses in a neighborhood and how it's assessed, and 1/100th
That's a great question, that's a
It's
tough
very
question to answer.
complicated.
It's not that easy.
No, not at all,
Yeah,
but it's
if we put that
interesting,
together, I would come to that.
right?
I bet you would get a big attendance out of that.
Yeah, it's not that easy, but that's a good, we get that
I wish
question
I
a lot.
could
And just remember, a question like that, we want to be the source for the source, not the source, because the minute we tell them how it's calculated, we don't know that.
I have a quick Zillow question. If a client puts a Zillow review for you, and you sell them another house, no, let me back that up. I just closed on a house on Wednesday, and they had sent me a Zillow review before we closed, how great the process is going. I heard that if I ask them for another one, it'll wipe out the first one, is that right? It might.
If it's on the same property,
Yeah, it is.
yeah, you can only have one.
Is it a couple, have the other one do it?
Well, they did
Different.
before, but the couple, both of them did.
So I think if they have a different Zillow login, like if they each have one,
Yeah, you can, they go off of your email.
yeah.
Mine?
No,
Theirs.
they go off the client
The
email.
client.
Yeah.
So if Otley and his wife are going through the process, he can write a review, then she can write one.
Well, they both wrote one.
But they have
Separately?
different email addresses.
Even though they did 2
Yeah.
transactions, 1 email address per review is.
Yeah, if they've already done 2 on the first transaction, you're probably right. If they go back in there to do it again, it'll be.
Yeah, it's the same
updated.
transaction,
Right.
so.
But they each did one already?
Why do you want them to do another?
Because they wanted to.
Oh, they want to?
Yeah.
Then they need one more
Have them
email
do it on
address.
Google or someplace different.
Lori, what do you got?
I just wanted to talk about this thing that Frank Finelli created. Have you seen it?
Yeah. Yes.
Because I just went through an inspection and it was pretty bad. We ran into Frank in the parking lot. The home inspection process, friend or foe. And when you give it, like, once you are under contract, I think if the buyer and the sellers got this,
Yeah.
it
It's a
would
nice piece.
alleviate a
It's a
lot
good
of
piece.
stress
It's a
and
good piece.
panic, and I think it's brilliant. Sandy, the broker, is going to decide.
Well,
We only have 5 minutes left.
If he doesn't
Sandy,
like it.
I don't think you can read that.
It just kind of lets them know what to expect,
Not
like,
many pictures.
as the seller, you should know that you should have had some of your things already serviced and make sure everything's
Yep.
in working condition, and the buyer, you should be at the inspection and make sure you understand the workings of the home, and what's your professional opinion?
You should, according to who though?
Don't tell me
Because-
that thing, listen, that's what the buyer advisory does.
Yeah.
Right.
That's exactly what it does. Buyer advisory is a great
You have to
document.
flip that.
When's the last time you guys read the buyer advisory? Anybody? When's the last time you read it? Rather than send it to somebody and said, sign here. Here, well, let's think about this. Here's what we do. This is something you guys know I'm old fashioned, and I just don't like this. Here's what we do. Lena, I'm gonna send you some documents, I'll send it to you electronic signature, is that okay? Sure. So she gets it, and what does it do? She
Click,
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 click. It doesn't read it, it just takes it to the next page to initial.
I hate that.
We don't read it.
Yeah.
So we know they're not reading it. That's just a fact. We know they're not reading it. Here's the question. Are we reading it? So here's my challenge. For all of you in home TV land, here's my challenge. One day, read a paragraph one day. It's a 14-page buyer advisory document. It's excellent, and this is the document that keeps us out of trouble. That's what it's designed for, as well as educating the public. Here's the challenge. Read one paragraph a day. A paragraph is no more than 5 or 6 sentences. Read one paragraph a day. One paragraph a day. You guys, that's all it is. You don't have to door knock, you don't have to call, you don't have to email, you don't have to, what's the other one? Voicemail,
Text.
door text, you don't have to, one paragraph a day.
And they ask the
And
questions
you can do,
that are all in
listen,
there. Yeah.
laugh all
Always
you
ask them.
want, laugh all you want, leave it in the toilet. Leave a copy of the buyer advisory, I can promise you before you, whatever you're doing, I promise you'll read the paragraph before you finish doing your business. I'm telling you, I've read more books that way, right? I'm telling you guys, leave it in the bathroom and you will get through it in no time.
Is there an audio format? That's what I was just saying.
I
You
thought
should have
about-
somebody read. Audio in the
I
car.
thought about actually, in one of my to-do lists, and I,
Audio.
well, this is something that's on my to-do list broker thing forever, is to actually do a video, one paragraph, a chapter, just one paragraph and just make it into a whole format about the buyer advisory. This is what it says, this is what it means, and this is the importance of it. Thank you very much. And the next day, doing another one and making a whole library on it. But read it, one paragraph a day, it'll take you no time at all. Yes, sir.
I was asked by Armless to be on a realtor board, and so I went yesterday, and there's probably 45 other agents, and we're meeting like every 60 days. But we talked about lots of stuff that is input on the MLS, and what we're reading and what other agents aren't putting on there, and it was kind of like a gripe session. But if you guys know of anything that is bothering you on MLS, tell me, 'cause I have to fill out the 5 issues that are pet peeves. And
Is this an MLS board or a realtor board?
it's an MLS board.
Because I sit on the MLS rules committee.
Yeah, it's just I don't know, I was asked to come on down, I did.
Good. Good.
Anyway, we
So
talked
here,
a lot.
I'll tell you my biggest beef. You can put this down in big fat capital letters.
All right.
The property profile sheet is worthless.
Yeah.
It just,
The what?
The property profile sheet.
The residential
has
property.
or the residential rental. It has no meaning. It's just a worksheet.
It is.
It just is a worksheet. It just is. It's our worksheet. Because here's what we do. We take that, then we transfer it to the MLS, right? But we never show the MLS copy to our clients. It's not required. Hopefully we do.
Yeah.
Because it's the MLS that's going out to the public. That's what our sellers should see. The worksheet doesn't say anything, and half of us, quite frankly, we don't fill it out. More than half that come through, we don't fill it out. Okay, so what I ask for is just make an effort on page 1.
Page 1.
List date, end date,
Okay.
price, address. I mean, just some basic information on page 1. If you can't do that, I reject it. But I don't know if it has a fireplace in the family room or if it's gas or wood. I don't check that.
What if we didn't fill one out and we didn't put one in the sky?
Well, you have to do it because the MLS requires it.
What,
It's not me that
But it
requires
can be
it.
blank aside from the first page,
I
as long
don't
as
care
there's
if it's
signature
blank,
on
I
it.
just want to see the first page and
so I
efforts.
have to
And
have
some.
something in Sky Slope.
It has to be,
on that-
because that's
on
an
that
MLS,
plan.
we get audited, you can't put an MLS without an ER and a profile sheet.
They have a profile
That's-
sheet in MLS.
That's what I do.
So when you go to input your listing in MLS, just go, there's a profile sheet in there that you can just print out.
Oh.
And it.
It's just,
Yeah, and
I think,
it's-
Scott, I just think it's outdated, it doesn't have a place anymore.
I fill it out in MLS, then I print the sheet off of
Yeah.
MLS.
Or just, you know, put my listing in as incomplete.
I would just like to see,
I
I would like to get to the point where that, or a signed copy of the MLS printout, the way the public sees it is what the client signs off on. I think to me that makes
Don't
sense.
you always send it to them?
Yeah, but we don't require them to see, where's it,
You know, it's a good.
they're required to sign the profile sheet, not the actual MLS.
Well, I always send the MLS sheet.
Watch this one, here's another silly one.
Because I just asked the question.
This has nothing to do with MLS. Tell me one form that is required, that doesn't require signatures.
Commission,
No,
instruction.
no,
MLS.
no. Well, that's not required form, no, yeah, that's true. That's one, that's fair enough.
Wait, required by RE/MAX or required by
All of the
Department of Real
above.
Estate?
Well, we require, but most companies require it. You can't do a transaction without it because it's in the contract, but no signatures are required.
Wire funds?
Wire fraud, no, that's
No,
required.
that is
That's required, that's a signature. Show me a form that's required by way of contract,
Contract.
Nobody knows.
that's required by contract that doesn't require a
We don't know.
signature.
Tell us.
Tax numbers.
No?
Nobody
But
knows.
I'm.
Not in the contract. We require it for other purposes, but in the contract.
What is it?
You already said that?
Well,
I'm getting nervous.
Monday at 10:30.
Lots of experience report.
So here's what we do. Listen, I'm not saying we do it, but you put a clue report into MLS, into SkySlope, right? How do I know that the buyer has seen it? We get it from the seller when we get the listing, right? How do we know the buyer's ever gotten it? We like to think they did. I like to think we all did our job, and I'm confident that we all did. How do we know? Buyer never signs off on it.
Well, we could.
The only form that it's required that doesn't require a signature. I think it's silly. Okay.
I always have mine
It's over
initials.
now.
What's that?
I always have mine
By the
initials.
Do you,
seller,
seriously?
by the buyer, by the
By
buyer,
the buyer?
by the buyer,
Yeah, I
seller
send,
and buyer?
yeah, I send it out to the other agent.
Good for you. And you get it back signed by the buyer?
Yeah, because I want to know that they got it, so I'm not in
So
trouble.
if I go to your SkySlope and I see a clue report, it's gonna see the seller's signature and the buyer's signature on the clue report.
Initials, you'll see it.
Really? Good for you.
Look at it.
Obviously, you're not reading it.
Gold star of the day.
Yes. Is that what you're saying? Is the only form that's not requiring a signature that's required by contract?
Yeah, I'm always.
Yes, sir.
One thing regarding the reviews. So Sam, for instance, you said your client just did a Zillow review. This can come from other sources. And Dell just did the same thing where he called his client, requested all this. Go on to Zillow, once that's complete and you see that it's there, go onto the office website, find prop.com, go into the offices, search yourself as an agent, and go into your profile. Copy that agent on there, the name, and then copy that review on there and submit it. It's gonna take you less than 1 minute. That review will then be on your profile. So
Can I do that with all my old
you
ones?
can do it with any of the old reviews, and you don't have to involve the clients, just do it for them. And then, yeah, and you're just submitting them. They'll go through a review process, we'll accept them just to make sure they're appropriate. And then they'll be posted
Is
on
this on the
your profile.
recording?
Yes.
I want to look at it.
Okay, my last thing for the day. How many have gone into Zip Forms and you get this window that says, how many have gone into Zip Forms and the window comes up and says your subscription will expire in 20 days?
Yep.
Okay, when you see that, what does that mean?
That's been handled, but you may still see it for the Connect. It's you can pretty much just check skip on it. If it keeps coming up and it annoys you, just let me know. We can take care of it on the back end.
So what you're
But it
saying is if it says
individually
it's
for
going to
agent.
expire in 20 days, on the 21st day, we're still going to get into Zip Forms? Is that what you're saying, Keith Sheffer?
Exactly what I'm saying. There's gonna
I'm
be
sorry,
no
a little louder.
issues. No issues at all. It'll function just fine.
And if you
Yeah.
hit renew, what happens?
You don't want to do that because it was looking for pricing on there, so you shouldn't be paying for anything on that.
Oh, okay.
So Yeah, just,
Okay.
Because I hit it in.
So one other thing,
as
I
long as there was
mentioned
no
it to
price, we
Greg,
didn't bill you for it.
and I'll mention it to you in front of all this crowd.
Yeah,
I don't know if everybody just glossed over that reciprocity thing that just got passed.
Oh, geez, yeah.
I didn't know it because I didn't even really snap to it until a client questioned me on it.
Yep.
And they were under the impression that, oh, they just passed a law in Arizona, so my buddy who's an agent in Colorado can just come sell me a house down here. I'm like,
That's what
I
it
don't-
sounded like.
But it doesn't work that way.
Before you go further, so tell me what you think what was just passed.
no, I know what it is.
Tell
I
us.
read it.
Tell
So,
us.
so basically, the only thing that you have reciprocity in, it just avoids you having to do the 90 hours, in my opinion.
No, you gotta take the
Hold on,
state test.
hold on.
But, so I think you don't do the 90 hours, and you have to test, you have to set up residency, you have to pay for all your licensing, so there's a lot more to it.
Correct.
I just wonder how many people understand the whole picture.
And you still have to take the state test.
State
And you have to
test.
take the state
You
test.
still have to pass the state test, you have to establish residency, you have to have a license for at least 1 year in another state, correct? But you have to still take the test, it's not just an automatic.
Right, but the general public, I think, are looking at it like, we all first heard it, and we're like, whoa,
Well,
what the
because they
heck?
threw it in with nail techs and hairstylists and, you know,
Right.
all these things you need a license for, nurses, and they didn't really specify
Right, they didn't do an
what you
industry
need to do in
specific.
each
They
category.
just, anything that requires a state license is
Right.
grouped into the state.
Yep.
They didn't get like industry
Commerce.
specific.
So I just think it's important for all of us as agents to be able to understand it, so when we get quizzed by a client, we can say, yeah, no, it's not what you think it is.
Right.
And, you know, maybe it'll never come up with anybody else in their
This
clients.
topic always comes up every 5-6 years. Now it's making another big comeback, and that is dual agency. And there's a single agent dual agency and a double agent dual agency, right? Single agent means I'm doing both ends on my own listing and I have my own buyer. It's single agent agency, where Lane has the listing and I have the buyer. Now it's dual agency, but it's two agent dual agency. And there's a big thing about separating the two because there's a lot of people now coming to the forefront that it's impossible for me as an individual or any individual to represent both parties on the same transaction. Two of us, potentially we can, because we're still under the brokerage, but there's two individuals. So this rears its head. There's only, not sure how many states, but not all the states practice dual agency. So this is something that's coming up, it's coming to the courts. I can tell you this, the courts in Arizona do not recognize dual agency if you're selling your own property. If I'm selling my house and Lane is a buyer, there's no way in the world I could ever represent her on a dual agency on my own property. Or if it's my wife's property or my kid's property, I can't do it. And if you ever come across that, there's lots of remedies that we would offer you. Lots of remedies that we would offer you to either refer it out, or Rick Mack has a great suggestion. In the contract, right, you may not represent, I may not represent you as the buyer if you want to buy my property, but in the contract, the seller will, and it's, I don't know the exact words, but like this, the seller will credit buyer $500 at closing. The $500 must be used by the buyer to get legal advice and review contract. It's more than enough for a lawyer to review the contract, giving the buyer their chance to get some representation on their own. It's worth every penny.
That's a good idea.
Who came to me this morning? Frankie. Frankie's almost the same thing that you asked me today. All right, we'll end it with this. Frankie came to me today and said she has a buyer. They did a home inspection, and there's a potential mold issue. So on the Binzer, they asked the buyer to investigate, ask the seller to further evaluate and take care of the mold if it's an issue. Buyers in New Zealand or something, or no?
It's overseas.
Who else was in New
Out of
Zealand?
the country. That was mine.
No, you're not. And they don't want to deal with it, so they said, we'll give the seller $3,000.
We'll give the buyer.
We'll give the buyer $3,000, it goes away. So the question is, do you take it or not take it? So then the buyer said, well, give me $5 and I'll deal with it. And I said to Frankie, that's a bad deal.
And I said, let's have it inspected. It'll
Because-
cost $295 to get inspected, and she said, I don't want to pay for something I don't own yet.
Which is silly. It's a $600,000 house, you have $295. Know what you're buying. Because here's what happens. If she takes the $5,000, I mean, the buyer takes the $5,000, and there's no mold, boy, she rolled the dice, but she got $5,000. On a $600,000 house, it's nothing, guys, it's nothing. Right? But how about she takes the $5,000, now it's a $10,000 problem? You just don't want a buyer to go into this unknown, because it's just gonna come back. It's gonna come back and get everybody. It was not a good deal. Who else? Somebody yesterday dealt with it. Somebody wrote an offer. It was, I thought it was just a bad gig. They represented the buyer, and they thought this house was way overpriced. So they wrote an offer, and the buyer was about to agree to a price, but the buyer's agent did not think it would appraise. So they wrote an addendum or a counteroffer that said, if the appraisal comes in less than the sales price, both buyer and seller agree. No, if the appraisal does not come in at sales price, both buyer and seller agree that the purchase price will now be the appraised value, price will be the purchase price. It's a horrible thing to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're asking both parties to agree to something they don't know what they're agreeing to.
Right.
She goes, well, it only benefits my buyer because if we bought the house at 600 and the appraisal comes in at 580, then they get the house at 580.
No.
I said, wait, what happens if the appraisal comes in at 620?
Yeah.
That means you committed your buyer to pay more. I wouldn't do that. Just let the appraisal process take care of itself. There's a remedy if the appraisal process doesn't come. And if they think it's that high overly priced, then don't buy the house.
Right.
I mean, it's just, you just don't want your people going to the unknown. So whether it's the inspection unknown, or whether it's especially a sales price, you're going to an unknown sales price.
It sounds funny that somebody's willing to write an offer for 600 and they think it's not worth that.
I get it. So it was just a bad written thing. I understand what she was trying to do to protect. Now, if you wrote, if the appraisal comes in less, then the seller's obligated to sell it at less, that's one thing.
Seller's obligated to
But
sell
if you're
it.
the selling agent, you're not gonna
Yeah.
do that either, because you don't know how much less it might come in at.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
all right.
when you're adding something like that, please have a couple sets of eyeballs look
Yeah,
at it,
yeah.
because we see all.
Because what you're trying to say may not be what you're actually
Right,
saying. So,
exactly.
good. All right, anything else?
Could appraise it.
I got more, but I gotta go.
All right.